Hi guys, it's Fabulita. How are you doing today? Welcome from my bedroom today. It's a bit of a different scenery than normally. It's in my living room, but you know, a change can be good. So I will try not to move too much because you're currently standing on my bed on the tripod. So if I move, then the bed moves, and then you move, and then you know we get some shaking going on. What I want to talk about today it's just something that I have been trying to think about a lot, and also as I had mentioned before, I had my first psychologist appointment last week, and we were just discussing a little bit about how you develop and how you shape yourself from things that influence you in your life, family matters, the way that situations evolve and stuff like that. So there is this thing that I always am very aware of, is different roles that people can play. For example, people can really empathize of being a victim a lot, and then everything is always up to someone else to solve, and they are never to blame for anything that happens to them, and in that sense always expecting and always laying accountability with other people to solve their problems. This is something that I have encountered in my life. Another thing that you can have is, for example, you can have heroes or savers or rescuers that are constantly focusing on resolving other people's problems, even though you know they're not really asked to do that. And then you can always have someone who is just constantly blaming people or just constantly putting people down, and they can be the perpetrator. So this is obviously the concept that I'm talking about now is a concept that I learned about. I can't even exactly remember when, but it's something that always pops in my mind when I encounter certain situations. And it's actually the drama triangle, also known as Cartman triangle. And this triangle portrays those three roles basically that people can play. And I never really did much research into it until recently. And because it always made sense to me, in the sense that it's just a triangle that you don't want to be in. You don't want to be any of those roles, but you can be any of those roles in some moments of your life. You don't really want to get yourself involved in it, because being a victim, constantly being a victim and obtaining that victim role is never good, because you're constantly just expecting other people to save you. I really don't. Being the rescuer is not good, because some people don't really ask to be rescued, but on the other hand as well, you can't rescue people. People need to rescue themselves. Obviously you can support people, but that is something that I will touch on later. But you can't really rescue people, they need to do it themselves. So, and then obviously being a perpetrator is just no good, because I mean, no one likes to be put down, or no one likes to be, you know, treated in a bad manner. So as I said, I recently started to do the research, and I haven't nearly finished the research, but I just wanted to discuss what I've been reading up now and what I think about it myself. I actually read the first article from Cartman that he released in 1968, and in this article he basically puts it as, you know, when you have fairy tales and things like that, there's always these three roles. He actually puts them down as 4 in the beginning. He describes this as the drama, basically, being the story, being the fairy tales, being Red Riding Hood, being Cinderella. And he goes into depth about how these characters actually take on one of those roles, but also change the roles as the stories go on. And he puts the emphasis on that you need these roles to be able to have a relevant or a story, basically. So that without having a victim, without having a hero or a rescuer, and without having a perpetrator, you can't really make a story, because it doesn't really go anywhere in that sense. So it's really focused on putting it in the story, kind of the drama kind of perspective. But he also touches on that this also comes across in everyday life, basically, if you are in that drama triangle. Then after that I read a second article, or an update article about it, in which he more relates it to the real life part of it, and also because a lot of people actually started talking about this triangle that he had created and making different versions of it. So one of the versions that I really kind of took on to was actually the empowerment triangle. So instead of making it a negative narrative, you can display it as in a more positive manner. So instead of having the hero or the rescuer, you would be the coach, and instead of having the perpetrator, you could be the challenger, and then instead of being the victim, you could be the creator. So then I did some more research as well, and I actually stumbled upon the fact that you can start life, or you can start a situation by creating these roles and giving these roles to certain people in your life, and giving yourself a role. Me, myself, for example, I believe that I, well, used to be definitely the rescuer. I was always, because the thing with the rescuer, and that's something that I'm can admit to as well, is that the rescuer rescues because of heroism. So there is a gratification, there is acknowledgement, there is appreciation in being the hero. So that's why the rescuer is finding these situations or these victims or people that victimize themselves to rescue them. So to give themselves gratification as well. And of course there's differences, because of course there are real victims to real situations, and oftentimes there are, that's not victimizing yourself, that's not playing the victim. You can be a real victim to a real situation, and there can be a real hero to a real situation. But that's not really what the drama triangle is about. It's more about the drama side of it, the when people are in situations and they victimize themselves, just going through life being the victim because it's easier for them, or because that way they get a certain type of attention, which in the end is a negative type of attention, but to them that is just the way they do it in that moment. So what I was getting at is that I do believe that I was playing the rescuer role. I can see this in relationships that I've had, I can see this in just situations that I found myself in through life, that I was the rescuer even when it wasn't my responsibility, because that's the problem with rescuers, is that it oftentimes is not their responsibility to rescue that person or to solve that problem. And what these two triangles next to each other can show or can portray is that you could go from the drama triangle and very consciously and very, it needs a lot of acknowledgement, work your way up to the empowerment triangle. So instead of staying the rescuer and always finding victims or victimized people, or just people that don't even ask for your help and rescue them, instead of doing that, become a coach. So still be there to support people, but acknowledge that it's other people's responsibility to save themselves or to help themselves. So you can give them advice, you can be a coach, but keep the responsibility where it lays, and also take my own responsibility, because this is that how I look at it for myself. Take my own responsibility and keep my own responsibilities. So just keep it as my own responsibility that I only rescue myself, for example. It gets a little bit more difficult when you look at the victim, because the victim would have to become the creator, or could become the creator, and the perpetrator could become the challenger. And that, in that sense, the challenger, so that person, instead of Rita wants to hug you guys. Instead of putting people down, they can challenge the people that are around them. So challenge what they're thinking, challenge what they're doing, and in that sense they can help them grow as well and develop themselves. But then when you come to the victim being the person that is always counting on other people to solve their problems, is always counting on other people to ruin their life, and oh poor me, and just the classic victim, in a sense that even though they're not in a victim situation, they portray themselves to be. For them it will become more difficult to actually move on to the empowerment triangle, because if you think about the fact that they actually don't have any control over their own life, in their feelings, because oftentimes victim, and the same with perpetrators, and even same, it's difficult to realize that you are doing that you are victimizing yourself. So you can imagine that if you don't have to become a creator, someone who actually takes proactive actions to actually take their own lives in their hands, it can be a very difficult move from being a victim and having other people delegate your life, or at least feeling that way, to actually being proactive and becoming a creator of your own life and of your own reality, basically. So this is something that is really, really interesting for me. I will definitely put down the links to the articles down as well. As I said, I do believe that I myself I'm trying to get out of the rescuer position in the drama triangle. Another thing that the articles that I've read really focus on is that you can jump from different roles to other roles, and it can even depend on situations that you're in, or even locations that you're in. You can be someone in your private time and someone else outside, and it can all have to do with how you grew up. And it's funny because Cartman really focused on the fact how fairy tales and storybooks and stuff influence children and then grown-ups in their life. And obviously, as you guys know, I really have a good armful of Disney films, and I used to always, you know, my father used to always read me fairy tales and all these kind of things. So it's funny to actually be able to empathize or to put this in my own life and to see how this is a bit true for me, how certain things do influence growing up, how you think about things. Obviously, it's not saying that the way I am is because I used to read fairy tales or because my dad used to read me fairy tales. No, but it has to do with the way of thinking, and that there is always someone in your life that has to be the victim, that has to be the perpetrator, that has to be the hero. You know, that is, these roles need to be fulfilled. And then you come to the question, how can I get out of that? Well, as I said earlier, one of those things can be moving on to the other, to the empowerment triangle instead of the drama triangle. Another thing is just to really dump it down, just not really engage in the drama triangle, just to keep it neutral. Basically, you don't need to be one of those three. Life does go on without the drama, and that doesn't mean it's bland and boring. No, it just means that you find fulfillment in other things, which not necessarily have to do with being a victim or being a perpetrator or being a hero. You know, if you can find other fulfilling things for yourself, then you'll see that that slows down, because drama has a really negative, sound to it. Basically, drama queen, drama, you know, all of this drama around me. But what it really is just stories. It is really just stories that are happening and being played out. Because if you put yourself in the situation and you give yourself a role and you give everyone around you a role, then obviously that is a story then. And obviously stories are not necessarily always nice. So I think it's important to, again, acknowledge what position do you think, if you think you are, or if you believe you are in the drama triangle and you want to get out of that, then what position do you see yourself in, and how would you like to improve that? If you think it's all fine and you don't need to improve it, then obviously you don't need to, and you can just take this information as you please. But if you do believe that you think that any of these points could come across or could be real for you, be true for you, or maybe even you feel like, oh, okay, so I recognize this in other people, because I do myself recognize it in other people that I have encountered in my life, and that I can put in, not necessarily put in those roles, but I can see how they have taken on that role and how that makes them stuck in that role as well. And just acknowledging that, but also making sure that you do know that there is life outside the drama. You don't have to necessarily focus on it too much, and focus on the positive and focus on moving forward like I'm doing now. I would love to be able to become the coach in the empowerment triangle and just step out of the drama triangle completely. I'm definitely not there yet, but it is something that I'm working on. And one of those ways is that I am sharing this information with you now. I am sharing this information. I'm not forcing you to take it on. I'm not trying to save everyone, but I do like to believe that my knowledge can be shared and can be taken on by some people if they want to. And also spread the word for yourself, and if there's something that you feel is true to you, then in that manner you can feel more comfortable in what you're going through as well. So that is something that I am really interested at. Well, that's something that I really want to focus on more, really want to read in some more, because I don't have all the information nearly yet. I will put down the links that I have had so far and have read so far. And that was today's video. So as always, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching. Rulito thanks you too. He's still here. Come say hello. You wanna be in my outro? You wanna be in my outro? So thank you guys for watching. And you know what? If you love this video, like it. If you want to see more, subscribe. And if you think that there is people in your surroundings or anything that could have some help in this, please share the video as well. And that was it for today. Have a lovely day, have a lovely week, and I'll see you guys on Friday. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.